So we're done with radicals for now, and you're starting to learn about quadratic functions. Today you're learning how to graph them, and your quadratic, like it says here, so your quadratic functions are written in the form of y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and so a, b, and c are just going to be numbers here. So like y equals 3x squared plus 4x plus 6 is an example of one. And then the graph of a quadratic is called a parabola, which these are the parabolas here. So these are going to be U-shaped or upside down U-shaped there. And then if the coefficient of your x squared term, the a here is positive, like it says, the parabola would open upwards. Like this one here is like up, kind of like a U. And then if a, the coefficient of your x squared term, is negative, then it's going to open downwards like this. And so when you graph these here, for these, we're just going to start by subbing in values here. And so when you're graphing them, I would start with -1, 0, and 1 for your x's. Hold on, I'll just write it here. So I would start with -1, 0, and 1 to start, and then you can see which way your graph is headed, and then you can choose what values you want to sub in next. So to sub in your -1 first, just make sure you remember for the negative numbers, you'll put it in parentheses before you square it. So when you sub the -1 in there, it'd be negative, it'll be like this, -1 squared plus 2. And you can type in the calculator. So if you square the -1, you'll get +1 there, and then 1 plus 2 would be 3. And then you can sub the 0 next. You'll square 0 and then add 2, which means that'd be 2. And then you can sub the 1 in next. So 1 squared would be 1, 1 plus 2 would be 3. And then you can graph these points next, and we'll see which way it's heading here. So you can graph them. So -1, 3. So left 1, up 3. So that'd be here then. And then 0, 2 would be left and right 0, and then up 2. And then 1, 3. And then since the coefficient of your x squared term here is positive, this parabola is going to open upwards, kind of like U-shape, kind of like this here then, which means it's probably it's headed this way. So your parabola, it's always going to be symmetric because this, the vertex is either your highest point or the lowest point, depending on which way it's opening. This one's opening upwards because you know your coefficient of the x squared term is positive. So since this is opening upwards, you know your vertex, the lowest point, the minimum here of the parabola would be here. So you know it's going to continue up this direction. So the last value you subbed in, it was 1. So I would sub in 2 next to see what it'd be here. So you can square 2, which would be 4. 4 plus 2 would be 6 then. So then you can graph 2, 6 next. So over to 2 and then up to 6. And then these parabolas are always going to be symmetric. So it's going to be, this is symmetric across, like from the vertex here, because this is up 1 over 1 to up 1 over 1, which means you can sub a -2 here, although you know from here you can go up 1 over 3 because it's going to widen just as much each direction. So then these 2 points are symmetric here. And then you don't have room for any other points here. You could try, but they won't fit on the graph. So this, you can draw your parabola here. Just make sure you have it kind of curved. Mine kind of looks like a V, but it'll be like, it should be kind of rounded at the bottom there. So those are all the points you'll have at that parabola then. And then for the next one here, so like I said, I'd start with a -1, 0, and 1. And then you can see which way this is going. Just make sure for this, you would square whatever your number is, and then you'll make it negative afterwards. Which means if you sub the -1 in, it'd be right here. So it'd be -1 in there that you'd square, and then this negative's out front after. So you'd have to square the -1 here, which would be 1, and then you'll make it negative after. So it'd be -1 minus 4. So that'd be -5. And then you can sub the 0 next. So 0 squared is 0. And then make it negative, so it'll just stay as 0. And then 0 minus 4 would be negative 4 there. And then you can sub the 1 in next here. So just so you know, so when you sub the 1 in, it'll be like this. You don't have parentheses around the 1 because you just have the, it's not, you'll square the 1 and then make it negative afterwards. You're not squaring negative 1. It's not like this or anything. So you'll square the 1, which would be 1, and then make it negative after. So it'd be negative 1 still, and then minus 4. So that'd be negative 5. So you can graph these 3 points. So negative 1, negative 5, 0, negative 4, 1, negative 5. And then I would figure out, so you know which values to sub in next. Your coefficient of your x squared term here is negative, which means it's going to be open and downwards, kind of like this. So you know it's going to continue this way, and this is your vertex here, because you know this is already headed back down. So if you sub in 2 or negative 2, you'll get the same thing either way. So I'll just do a positive 2 here, because they're going to match up with each other since it has to be symmetric there. So remember, you'll have to square the 2, so 4, and then make it negative after. So it'd be negative 4 minus 4, so that'd be negative 8. So over to 2, and then down to 8 here. And then your point here, so you went down 3 over 1, so this will match up. So down 3 over 1. And then you can draw, then you can connect these, because you won't have, you get sub in 3 next, but you don't have room for any other points on the graph here then. So it'll be rounded at the top there. Okay. And for the next quadratic function here, so x squared minus 3x plus 2. So this is kind of like the others to start. So you should sub in negative 1, 0, and 1 then, or negative 1, 0, 1. So when you sub the negative 1 in, so you'll have to, here, I'm going to write this out here. Make sure, because you have the negative you're squaring, you'll put in parentheses. And you can also type this in the calculator, make sure you don't make a mistake or anything. But you can square the negative 1, which would be 1. And then if you multiply these, you'll get negative 3. So 1 minus negative 3 would be 4 then. And then 4 plus 2 would be 6. And then units of the 0 next. So 0 squared 0, and then minus 0 would still be 0, and then plus 2 would be 2. And then units of the 1. So 1 squared would be 1, and then 3 times 1 would be 3. So 1 minus 3 would be negative 2. And then negative 2 plus 2 would be 0. And then you'll graph these next. So negative 1, 6. And then 0, 2. And then 1, 0. So you have these 3 points here. To figure out what value you should sub in next, the coefficient of your x squared term is positive here. That means since it's positive, it's going to be open and upwards, kind of like this. So you already have these 3 points. You know, this is coming down this way then. So you don't know if this is, you can't follow this pattern here because you don't know if this is coming back up yet. Once you know it's coming back up, you can follow the same pattern. So we're going to keep going in this direction until we know it's going to come back up. So the last x you subbed in was 1 here. So then you're going to do 2 and see what you get out. You may even have to do 3 after that, but we can just sub the 2 in next. Because if you did negative 2, it'd be way up here somewhere. That doesn't really matter for this one. Head this direction until you know it's coming back up. So you can sub the 2 in next then. So 2 squared would be 4, and then 3 times 2 would be 6. So 4 minus 6 would be negative 2, and then negative 2 plus 2 would be 0 then. So 2, 0. So this would be here. So you know this is going to be coming back up here. You can sub in 3 if you want, Although if you do, this would be here. The bottom of your parabola, the vertex of it here, which is your minimum for this one, since it's opening upwards, it'd be down here. It'll be between these 2 points. It's not like flat at the bottom. You're gonna have, it'll be kind of rounded at the bottom since it has to be a parabola. So it has to come down a little between those two. So it'll have to be kind of like this at the bottom. Hold on, that's bad. It'll be like this. Okay, I'm gonna get the other points first. Okay, this is up 2 over 1, so up 2 over 1, and then you can follow the same pattern to get this other point here. And then, so for the bottom, it would be kind of like curved. It just isn't gonna be flat between them. It'll come between them there. So yeah, so that's how that graph will look. And then for the next one here, so we're gonna do the same thing on this one then. And so for this one, so I would sub in -1, 0, and 1, like the others to start. And so you can sub your -1 in first. So just make sure, because it's a negative, you're squaring, you'll put it in parentheses. So you can square the -1, so you'll get 1 there. And then it'd be, if you multiply those, you get -4. So 1 minus -4 would be 5, and then 5 plus 3 would be 8 then. And then you can sub the 0 next. So 0 squared would be 0, and then minus 0 would still be 0, and then plus 3 would be 3. And then you can sub your 1 in next. So 1 squared would be 1, and then 4 times 1 would be 4. So 1 minus 4 would be -3, and then -3 plus 3 would be 0. So you can graph these and see where it's going next. So -1, 8 be up here then. 0, 3 would be here, and then 1, 0 would be here. So you have your points here, and then I would figure out what x value should sub in next. If you look here, the coefficient of your x squared term is positive. So that means that this is opening upwards here. So that means it's coming down this way. So you're going to keep subbing x's in to the right until you know that this is coming back up, and then you can follow the same pattern. You can't go like up and over right now because you don't know if this is your minimum. So you have to keep subbing your x's in from here. So the last x you subbed in is 1, so then you'll have to sub in 2 next and see what happens. Because if you did -2, it'll be super steep up there instead. So you can sub the 2 in next. So 2 squared would be 4, and then 4 times 2 would be 8. So 4 minus 8 would be -4, and then you can do -4 plus 3. So that'd be -1. So 2 -1, so that's still there. You're going to keep going in that direction because you don't know if it's coming back up yet. It looks like it, but you have to try the next one. So then you'll sub in the 3 now. So 3 squared would be 9. 4 times 3 would be 12. So 9 minus 12 would be -3. And then -3 plus 3 will be 0 then. So 3, 0. So this is coming back up here. That means this point here would be your minimum. So that means you can follow the same pattern because this is up 1 over 1, and then you can get your other points here. So this is up 3 over 1, so you can go up 3 over 1. So your next point would be here then. And then you can get your next point up there too, and then count how much this is up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up 5 over 1. And then you can connect your points here. Hold on. I was right for a while, so I clicked the random button. So that's what you'll have for that one then. Okay, this is a little better. This squiggly shouldn't be there, but. And then for the last one here, so you can start off, so y plus negative 3x squared minus 6x plus 4. So we'll sub in the negative 1, 0, and 1. Negative 1, 0, 1 for this one. And then see which way this is going. So when you sub the negative 1 in, so remember, it'll go in parentheses here. So you'll have to square the negative 1 here first, which would be 1. And then 1 times the negative 3 be negative 3. And then you can do negative 6 times negative 1. So that'd be positive 6. So negative 3 plus 6 be 3. And then you can do 3 plus 4. So that'd be 7 then. And then you can sub the 0 next. So 0 squared would still be 0, and then times negative 3 would still be the same. And then 6 times 0 would still be 0, and then you can just add 4. So that'd be 4. The 0 is kind of easy to sub in. Then you can sub the 1 in next. So you'd have to square the 1, so it'd be 1, and then multiply by a negative 3. So it'd be negative 3 minus 6. So negative 9 plus 4, so negative 5. And then you can graph these points next to see what you should sub in next. So negative 1, 7 would be up here. 0, 4 would be on your axis here. 1, negative 5 would be down here. And then to figure out what x values you should sub in next, so the coefficient of your x squared term is negative, so that means your parabola would be opening downwards here. Kind of like this. So that means it's going to continue like going over this way because you know it's opening downwards. It couldn't be opening upwards. You shouldn't sub in these values. So it's coming this way. So then you should sub in negative 2 next to see what happens there. Okay, sorry. So you're doing negative 2 here then. So your negative 3 is out front. So it'd be like this. I'm just putting this in parentheses both times here. So you can square the negative 2. So that'd be positive 4 because you have 2 negatives there. And then 4 times the negative 3 would be negative 12. And this would also be negative 12. So negative 12 minus negative 12 would be 0. And then 0 plus 4 would give you 4 then. So negative 2, 4. So you know this is coming back down here. So that this is your maximum there, this point up there, your vertex there. So then you can just follow the same pattern. So this is down 3 over 1. That's how you got that one here. So then you can follow the same pattern. So this will be down 9 to get there and then over 1. So then you can go from here. So down 9 over 1. So this one's pretty steep. It's because your coefficient of the x squared term is 3. That's why it got a lot steeper there. And then you can connect your points. It's supposed to be rounded. It's just hard to draw. Mhm. And that's what it will look like there. Just know these are kind of squiggly, but it should look something more like these when you're actually doing it. Okay, so you're gonna work through the Google Doc that I'm posting. Um, you can take a picture of your answers if you want to, because it might be easier to do it that way. And just let me know if you need help on it, but it'll be more practice of graphing the parabolas here.